Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, we are from Group 3 of Sociolinguistic course, and today we will explain about language choice. For the first, let us introduce ourselves. Our group members consist of Anissa Nurfalah, Desri Utari Darojatun, and Siti Hasna Andika Putri. And our presentation is divided into 3 parts, and the first part will present by Desri Utari Darojatun, and the next part will present by Anissa Nurfalah, and the last part will present by Siti Hasna Andika Putri. So without any further ado, let's get started now.
Okay, for the next slide will be presented by me. My name is Desri Utari Darojatun. In this slide contain about language choice in multilingual communities. So, multilingualism is the use of many languages by an individual or society, and multilingualism can also be defined as high language proficiency and fluency. Multilingualism is a social phenomenon caused by the influence of globalization and cultural openness. When a person who understands multiple languages will sometimes experience a loss of control over some or all of their additional language. It is called language attrition. This can happen because of the influence of the environment in which the use of a second language is more dominant than the mother tongue. So, in choosing language for multilingual, it is very important to pay attention when using it according to the situation and condition. For the next slide, it is about diglossia. Ferguson, in Warthog 2006, said that a diglossic situation exists in a society when it has two distinct codes which show clear functional separation. That is, one code is employed in one set of circumstances and the other in an entirely different set. Ferguson's original formula for diglossia was the first one. Diglossia is a relatively stable linguistic situation in which, apart from several major dialects, more precisely major varieties of one language, there is also another variety. The second one, the main dialect, among which can be a standard dialect or a regional standard. The third one, the other varieties which are not the main dialect, have characteristics such as it's been heavily codified, the grammar is more complex, it's a vehicle for written literature that is very broad and respected, and learned through formal education, used mainly in written and formal spoken language, and not used or by any level of society for daily conversation.
Okay, next I will explain about bilingualism, multilingualism, and interference. Previously, let me introduce myself. Hello, my name is Anissa Nurfalah and I am from A class. Okay, and then let's go straight to the next material, which is about bilingualism and multilingualism. Recently, it is easy to find people who speak different languages at the same time. The phenomenon of people having more than one code or language is called bilingualism or multilingualism. Bilingualism and multilingualism are practiced by most of the world's population. Bilingualism is the situation where speaker uses two languages to interact to each other receptively and productively, whereas multilingualism is the situation where speaker uses more than two languages to interact to each other. In practice, linguists still have different views and opinions regarding the phenomenon of bilingualism and multilingualism. To some people, bilingualism or multilingualism is still uncommon and seems a little strange. For them, the ability of these bilingual people in using two languages is sometimes still considered something negative, especially in Western countries, because According to them, usually bilingual people or communities are immigrants or newcomers with all their problems in life and the resulting children mixed marriage. And in the Western world, bilingual and multilingual skill can give rise to a mixture of admiration and envy, but also occasionally a feeling of superiority in that many such people are not native to the culture in which we function. Such people are likely to be immigrants, visitors, or children of mixed marriage and in that respect marked in some way. And such marking is not always considered favorably. So, what I have tried to stress in this section is that bilingualism and multilingualism are actually sometimes regarded as a problem in that many bilingual individuals tend to occupy rather low position in society, and knowledge of another language become associated with inferiority. Besides that, bilinguals or multilinguals develop competence in each of the codes to the extent that they need it and for the context in which each of the language is used. So, context determines language choice. In a society in which more than one language or variety is used, you must find out who use what, when, and for what purpose if you are to be socially competent. So, your language choices are part of the social identity you claim for yourself. Okay, and the next material is about interference. Interference is one of the effects of the use of two or more languages in a multilingual speech community. According to Hudson, interference is a difficulty that arises in the process of mastering a second language in terms of sounds, word, or construction as a result of differences in habits with the first language. Regarding interference, Wainwright states that there are several factors that cause interference, including, first, bilingualism of the speech participant, the second, the lack of loyalty in the recipient language, third, the vocabulary of the receiving language is insufficient, fourth, the disappearance of rarely used words, and the next, the need for synonym, and the next, the practice of the source language and language style, and the last one is the carrying on of habits in the mother tongue. In addition, interference is divided into four types, namely phonological interference, morphological interference, syntactical interference, and semantical interference. Okay, first, phonological interference. Phonological interference occurs when speakers express words from one language by inserting language sounds from another language. Phonological interference can be divided into two types, namely reduction of letters phonological interference and letter substitution phonological interference. Okay, and the next type is morphological interference. Morphological interference occurs when a language absorbs the affixes of another language in word formation. This structural deviation occurs between language contact between the language being spoken and another language that is also mastered. Okay, and the next type is syntactical interference. Syntactical interference occurs when other language structures are used in the formation of sentences in the language used. The absorption of sentence element can be in the form of word, phrase, and clauses. This kind of syntactical interference is evident in coda-mixing even. And the last type is semantical interference. Semantical interference is interference that occurs in the field of meaning. According to the recipient language, semantic interference can be divided into two types, namely expansionary interference and additive interference. Okay, I think that's all from me. Thank you.
Code choice. The first is the definition. Code is a system that is used by people to communicate with each other. When people want to talk to each other, they have to choose a particular code to express their feeling. So, code choice is the code we choose to use on a particular occasion is likely to indicate how we wish to be viewed by others. Social factors of code choice. There are three important social factors of the code choice. The first is participant, the second is setting, and the third is topic. Participant is who you are talking to. Setting is the social context of the talk, while topic is the function and the topic of the discussion. These factors turn out to be important in accounting for language choice in many different kinds of speech community. An example of code choice. Here, as you can see, there is an example and we can analyze what code that being used. John is a teenager whose Japanese parents come to Bandung in 2018. He uses mainly Japanese at home, but Indonesian is the appropriate variety or code for him to use at lecturer. He uses mostly Indonesian in the campus organization. So we can see there is three languages that he used in his activity or in his daily life. And here we know that Japanese is a code for him to use for his family at home, and then Indonesian is the code for him to use in his lecturer or organization. The definition of code switching and code mixing. Code switching can occur in conversation between speakers' turn or within a single speaker's turn, while code mixing occurs when speakers use two or more languages below close level within one social situation. The differences of code switching and code mixing is code switching refers to the alternation between two or more languages, dialect, or language register, while code mixing is like you mixing up the codes indiscriminately or perhaps because of incompetence, whereas the switches are very well motivated in relation to the symbolic or social meanings of the two codes. Types of code switching. First is intrasentential switching, occur within a clause or sentence boundary. Second, text switching. A certain text and set phrases in one language that are incorporated into the speech of another language. Text switching is part of intrasentential switching. The third is intersentential transition. Language change occur at the sentence level, where each clause or sentence is in one language or another. The fourth is intra-word switching. A change occur within a word boundary. The example of code switching and code mixing. The first is code switching. The example is ujian hari ini open book. As you can see, there are two different languages in one sentence, and this is the example of intra-word switching, where a change occurs within a word boundary from Indonesian and then into English. The second one is code mixing. Chord mixing may occur within a multilingual setting where speakers share more than one language. For the example is Malaysia, who often use two languages, English and Melayu. Like, this morning, I hantar my baby to dekat babysitter tu lah. As you can see, there is a mixing languages from English and then Malay, and then English again, and then Malay again. So that always happen in multilingual country.
Well, that's all from us. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.